The struggles of tomorrow. Edeora adjusted the display of household items outside her small shop as the morning sun climbed higher in the sky. Her roadside shop, though modest, was neatly arranged with everything from detergent to cooking oil. She prided herself on keeping it clean and welcoming, even if the profits barely covered her needs. At 29, Edeora was resourceful and determined, traits she had developed while growing up in a small village. Life had never handed her much, but she learned to make the most of every opportunity. Now living in the bustling city of Enugu, she worked tirelessly to grow her small business, dreaming of a better future with her fiancé, Chike. Chike, on the other hand, was not having the best time in his career. Fresh out of university, he had secured an entry-level accountant position at a logistics company. The job offered stability but little else. His monthly salary of 45,000 Nigerian nairas barely covered his expenses, let alone savings for the future he and Edeora envisioned together. Every evening after work, Chike would stop by Edeora's shop to share dinner and discuss their plans. On one such evening, he sighed heavily as he slumped into a plastic chair behind the counter. "I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this, Eda," he said, running a hand through his short hair. "I've applied for better positions, but nothing seems to be coming through. I feel stuck." Edeora placed a steaming bowl of jollof rice in front of him and smiled gently. "Chike, we'll find a way. Things will get better. Maybe we just need to think outside the box." Chike sighed again. "It's not just about thinking outside the box, Eda. It feels like there's no box to begin with. How can I save for a wedding, for a house, or even for children with what I'm earning now?" The tension between them was palpable. Edeora had heard these complaints before and had grown tired of them. While she sympathized with Chike's struggles, she also believed in taking action rather than waiting for life to improve on its own. "I've been thinking," Edeora began hesitantly. "I want to start a POS business. It won't require much to set up, and I think it will bring in extra income." Chike raised an eyebrow. "A POS business? You mean one of those cash withdrawal and deposit setups?" "Yes," Edeora replied, her voice firm. "People in this area need it. The nearest ATM is far, and not everyone wants to queue for hours. If I offer convenience, they'll come." Chike leaned back, considering her words. "How much do you need to start?" "Not much," Edeora said, her eyes lighting up. "I've already saved a little, and if I reinvest some of the shop's profits, I can buy a POS machine and get started." Though skeptical, Chike nodded. "If you think it'll work, go for it. Just don't stretch yourself too thin, Eda. You already work so hard." Edeora smiled, grateful for his reluctant support. Over the next few weeks, she worked tirelessly to set up her new venture. She secured a small space beside her shop, acquired the POS machine, and spread the word about her new service. Soon, customers began to trickle in, appreciating the convenience Edeora offered. The business wasn't booming, but it was growing steadily, and Edeora felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in months. She even started dreaming of expanding her shop or investing in other small ventures. However, while Edeora's optimism grew, Chike's frustrations festered. He saw Edeora's success as a reminder of his own stagnation. Though he never voiced his jealousy, it seeped into their conversations, creating a subtle but persistent tension. "I'm happy for you, Eda," he said one evening as he watched her count the day's earnings. "You're doing well." "But?" Edeora asked, sensing the hesitation in his voice. Chike hesitated before replying, "But it makes me feel useless. You're out here making progress, and I'm stuck in the same spot." Edeora reached out to hold his hand. "Chike, we're a team. Your success is my success, and my success is yours. We'll get there together." Chike smiled faintly, but deep down, he wasn't sure if he believed her. As the days turned into weeks, Eudora continued to grow her business, unknowingly setting the stage for events that would test their relationship and their moral compass. Little did she know that her drive to escape poverty would lead her down a path fraught with challenges and choices that would change their lives forever. A risky opportunity. The midday sun was relentless, casting sharp shadows on the bustling streets of Enugu. Eudora, seated behind her small POS counter, found herself with a piece of cardboard while attending to customers. Business had been steady over the past few weeks, but Eudora was hungry for more growth. She had noticed an increasing demand for her services, especially during the weekends, when banks were closed and ATM queues grew unbearably long. As she handed a customer his cash, she heard a confident voice behind her. "Oh, Eudora. I see business is booming." Turning, she saw Mrs. Nkem, a well-known trader in the area. The woman was a picture of prosperity, clad in a colorful Ankara dress, her wrists jingling with gold bracelets. Mrs. Nkem owned a popular grocery store and was reputed to have strong connections with the banks. Eudora greeted her with a warm smile. "Good afternoon, Ma. It's Godo. We are just managing." Mrs. Nkem chuckled. "Managing, cool. You're doing better than many people around here. But let me tell you something, there's always room to grow." Intrigued, Eudora invited Mrs. Nkem to sit. The older woman adjusted her gaily and leaned forward conspiratorially. "Ada, I have a proposal for you. I can get you a new POS machine that will reduce your transaction fees significantly. With lower charges, you'll attract more customers and make better profits." Eudora's interest was piqued. Transaction fees were her biggest expense, often eating into her already slim margins. "Really, Ma? How does it work?" "Don't worry about the details," Mrs. Nkem said with a wave of her hand. "Just know it's a special arrangement with some people I know at the bank. It's perfectly legal. All you need is a small upfront payment, and the machine is yours." Eudora hesitated. "How much is the payment?" 50,000 Nigerian nairas, Mrs. Nkem replied. "I know it's not small money, but think of it as an investment. You'll make it back in no time." Eudora did the mental calculations. She had some savings from her shop and the POS business, but parting with such a large sum felt risky. Still, the promise of increased profits was tempting. "I'll think about it, Ma," Eudora said finally. "Don't take too long," Mrs. Nkem warned. "Opportunities like this don't come every day." A decision to make. That evening, as Eudora recounted her day to Chike, she mentioned the offer. Chike frowned, his expression darkening. 50,000 Nigerian nairas. That's almost all your savings, Ada. What if it's a scam? "I don't think it's a scam," Eudora countered. "Mrs. Nkem has a good reputation. She wouldn't ruin it over something like this." Chike shook his head. "I don't know, Ada. I just feel like you're taking too many risks. What if it doesn't work out? We can't afford to lose that kind of money." Eudora bit her lip, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "Chike, I'm trying to grow. We can't stay in the same place forever. If we don't take risks, how will we ever move forward?" The tension in the room was palpable. Chike felt increasingly sidelined by Eudora's growing independence. Her business was thriving, while he remained stuck in a job that barely paid the bills. "Do what you want, Ada," he said finally, his tone colder than he intended. "It's your money. Taking the leap." Despite Chike's reservations, Eudora decided to go ahead with the deal. She met with Mrs. Nkem the next day and handed over the 50,000 Nigerian nairas. True to her word, the older woman delivered the new POS machine within a week. At first, Eudora was cautious, using the new machine only for a few transactions to ensure it worked as promised. To her delight, the reduced fees were real. Encouraged, she began promoting the lower charges to her customers, and soon, her business saw a noticeable increase in traffic. As the days turned into weeks, Adora's income steadily grew. She reinvested the profits into her shop, adding new products and even hiring a young boy to help manage the increasing workload. Her success brought her immense pride, but it also made her more guarded about her earnings. The growing rift. Jack couldn't help but notice the changes. Adora, who once discussed every naira she earned, now avoided conversations about money. She started coming home later, citing the demands of her growing business. When Jack asked how much she was making, Adora would brush him off with vague answers. "It's nothing big, Jack. Just small change here and there," she would say, avoiding his gaze. Jack's frustration deepened. He felt like an outsider in their relationship, his inadequacies amplified by Adora's success. Though he wanted to be happy for her, jealousy and insecurity crept in. One evening, as they sat in the shop after hours, Jack finally voiced his concerns. "Ada, do you even need me anymore? You're doing so well on your own. It feels like I'm just here, taking up space." Adora looked at him, startled. "Jack, don't say that. Of course, I need you. This isn't just about me, it's about us. Is it?" Jack countered, his voice laced with bitterness. "Because it feels like you're building a life that doesn't include me." Adora sighed, struggling to find the right words. "Jack, I'm doing this for both of us. We've talked about our dreams, owning a house, starting a family. I'm just trying to make those dreams a reality." Jack didn't respond, but his silence spoke volumes. The seeds of doubt and insecurity had been sown, and their relationship was beginning to feel the strain. Wealth without peace. Adora sat behind the counter of her thriving shop, marveling at how quickly her business had grown in recent weeks. The daily deposits into her account had exceeded her wildest expectations. With the funds coming from the swapped POS machine, she was able to expand her shop, stock premium goods, and even purchase a small plot of land on the outskirts of the city. Despite the material success, Adora found herself restless. The thrill of her growing wealth was tempered by an underlying anxiety. The secret she carried weighed heavily on her, but she pushed the thoughts aside, convincing herself it was all for the best. New heights, new questions. Jack noticed the changes almost immediately. Adora's shop, once modest, now boasted an impressive variety of goods. She had even hired 2 additional staff members, freeing her to focus on other ventures. One evening, Jack arrived home to find Adora poring over architectural plans. She looked up with a radiant smile. "Jack, I've done it," she said, holding up the papers. "I bought a plot of land. It's not much, but it's a start." Jack blinked, caught off guard. "A plot of land? That's amazing. But how did you afford it? I thought you were saving for inventory." Adora waved off the question, her smile faltering. "I've been reinvesting the profits from the shop, and business has been good. You know how these things go." Jack nodded slowly, but the unease in his chest grew. He wanted to believe her, but something didn't add up. How could the shop's earnings, even with reinvestment, grow at such an extraordinary rate? He decided not to press further, fearing it might strain their relationship. Unexplained wealth. As the weeks went by, Adora's spending continued to raise eyebrows. She purchased a brand new freezer, repainted her shop, and even upgraded her wardrobe. Jack watched silently, his doubts gnawing at him. One night, as they lay in bed, he finally broached the subject. "Ada, can we talk?" Adora tensed. "Of course. What's on your mind?" "It's just, you've been doing so well lately. The shop, the land, all the upgrades. I'm proud of you, but I can't help but wonder how you've managed it all so quickly. Adora's heart raced, but she kept her expression calm. I told you, Chike. Hard work and God's blessings. I've been taking every opportunity to grow. Chike frowned but didn't push further. He wanted to trust her, but the unanswered questions lingered. A growing divide. The once loving relationship between Adora and Chike began to change. Adora's evasiveness made Chike feel distant, while her newfound independence only deepened his insecurities. He began to question his own worth, wondering if Adora even needed him anymore. Adora, on the other hand, felt increasingly isolated. She couldn't share her guilt with Chike, and every time he looked at her with suspicion, she felt a pang of regret. Still, she told herself it was all worth it. The money she was funneling from the company would build their future, and Chike would one day thank her for it. One evening, Chike returned home to find Adora sitting in silence, staring at her phone. Is everything okay? He asked, his concern genuine. I'm fine, she replied curtly, avoiding eye contact. Chike sighed. Ada, I feel like we're drifting apart. You've been so distant lately. Adora forced a smile. I've just been busy, Chike. That's all. Chike didn't believe her, but he didn't know how to bridge the growing gap between them. He decided to let the matter rest for the night, even as his doubts deepened. The cost of success. Though Adora's wealth continued to grow, she found little joy in it. Every purchase, every new milestone was accompanied by a gnawing sense of unease. She avoided discussing her finances with Chike, afraid that the truth might come to light. At the same time, Chike struggled with his own feelings of inadequacy. He had always wanted to provide for Adora, to be the man who would build a future for them. But now, as he watched her flourish while he stagnated, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was losing her. The tensions between them simmered beneath the surface, threatening to boil over. Neither of them realized that their unspoken fears and secrets were leading them toward an inevitable confrontation, one that would change their lives forever. The swap. It was a Monday morning when Chike received an email from his manager. He was tasked with collecting a set of 5 new POS machines from the bank for his company's branch operations. Though it seemed like a simple errand, Chike felt a twinge of pride at being entrusted with such responsibility. It was rare for him to be assigned anything outside the mundane accounting tasks he handled daily. As he prepared to leave the office, his manager handed him the paperwork and said, Chike, these machines are critical to the company's operations. Please ensure everything is accounted for and delivered safely. Chike nodded, assuring his manager he would handle it with care. The spark of greed. Later that evening, Chike arrived home with the POS machines carefully packed in a branded bag. He placed them on the small table in their living room before heading to the kitchen to grab a drink. Adora, who had just returned from her shop, noticed the bag immediately. What's in there? She asked casually. New POS machines for the office, Chike replied, his tone distracted. I need to take them in tomorrow. Adora's eyes lingered on the bag for a moment longer than necessary. An idea began to form in her mind, a risky, audacious idea. She knew how much money passed through Chike's company daily. If even a fraction of that could be redirected into her account, it would be enough to expand her business significantly. She quickly dismissed the thought. It was wrong, illegal, and could land both of them in serious trouble. But as the evening wore on, the idea kept resurfacing, fueled by her fear of poverty and her desire to secure their future. A desperate act. That night, while Chike slept soundly, Adora made her move. Quietly, she retrieved the bag containing the POS machines and unzipped it. She examined the devices, noting how similar they looked to her own. Carefully, she swapped one of Chike's company machines with her personal POS machine. As she zipped the bag back up, her hands trembled slightly. "This is for us," she whispered to herself. "Jack will understand one day." She placed her POS machine in the bag and returned it to its original spot. The swapped machine, now sitting in her shop, would funnel a portion of Jack's company's profits into her personal account without raising immediate suspicion. The justification. The next day, Jack took the bag to work, oblivious to what had happened. As he handed over the machines to his manager, Eudora felt a pound of guilt. But she quickly silenced it with rationalizations. "This is for the better," she told herself. "We need this money to build our future. Jack doesn't have to know. What he doesn't know won't hurt him." Eudora convinced herself that her actions were born out of love and necessity. She reasoned that the money wasn't being stolen in the traditional sense, it was merely being redirected. Over the next few weeks, Eudora began to see the result of her risky decision. The swapped machine started generating substantial deposits into her account. With this newfound wealth, she expanded her shop, bought new inventory, and even hired an additional assistant. The growing divide. Jack couldn't help but notice the rapid changes in Eudora's business. "You've really stepped up, Ada," he remarked one evening as they shared a simple dinner. "It's like your business is growing overnight." Eudora smiled nervously. "It's just hard work, Jack. You know me, I'm always looking for ways to improve." Jack nodded, but the seed of suspicion had been planted. He began to wonder how Eudora was achieving so much so quickly, especially given her initial struggles. Meanwhile, Eudora's guilt grew heavier with each passing day. She avoided discussing money with Jack and kept him at arm's length whenever he asked about her sudden financial success. Their once open relationship began to fray under the weight of a secret. The turning point. Though Eudora tried to justify her actions, she couldn't ignore the subtle changes in Jack's demeanor. He was becoming more withdrawn, his frustration with his own career exacerbated by Eudora's apparent success. The growing divide between them was palpable, but Eudora chose to bury her guilt in her work, avoiding the difficult conversations that loomed over them. Little did she know that her actions would soon set off a chain of events that would test the strength of their relationship and force her to confront the consequences of her choices. Wealth without peace. Eudora sat behind the counter of her thriving shop, marveling at how quickly her business had grown in recent weeks. The daily deposits into her account had exceeded her wildest expectations. With the funds coming from the swapped POS machine, she was able to expand her shop, stock premium goods, and even purchase a small plot of land on the outskirts of the city. Despite the material success, Eudora found herself restless. The thrill of her growing wealth was tempered by an underlying anxiety. The secret she carried weighed heavily on her, but she pushed the thoughts aside, convincing herself it was all for the best. New heights, new questions. Jack noticed the changes almost immediately. Eudora's shop, once modest, now boasted an impressive variety of goods. She had even hired 2 additional staff members, freeing her to focus on other ventures. One evening, Jack arrived home to find Eudora poring over architectural plans. She looked up with a radiant smile. "Jack, I've done it," she said, holding up the papers. "I bought a plot of land. It's not much, but it's a start." Jack blinked, caught off guard. "A plot of land? That's amazing. But how did you afford it? I thought you were saving for inventory." Eudora waved off the question, her smile faltering. "I've been reinvesting the profits from the shop, and business has been good. You know how these things go." Jack nodded slowly, but the unease in his chest grew. He wanted to believe her, but something didn't add up. How could the shop's earnings, even with reinvestment, grow at such an extraordinary rate? He decided not to press further, fearing it might strain their relationship. Unexplained wealth. As the weeks went by, Eudora's spending continued to raise eyebrows. She purchased a brand new freezer, repainted her shop, and even upgraded her wardrobe. Jack watched silently, his doubts gnawing at him. One night, as they lay in bed, he finally broached the subject. "Ada, can we talk?" Edaora tensed. "Of course. What's on your mind?" "It's just, you've been doing so well lately. The shop, the land, all the upgrades. I'm proud of you, but I can't help but wonder how you've managed it all so quickly." Adora's heart raced, but she kept her expression calm. "I told you, Jack. Hard work and God's blessings. I've been taking every opportunity to grow." Jack frowned but didn't push further. He wanted to trust her, but the unanswered questions lingered. A growing divide. The once loving relationship between Edaora and Jack began to change. Adora's evasiveness made Jack feel distant, while her newfound independence only deepened his insecurities. He began to question his own worth, wondering if Edaora even needed him anymore. Edaora, on the other hand, felt increasingly isolated. She couldn't share her guilt with Jack, and every time he looked at her with suspicion, she felt a pang of regret. Still, she told herself it was all worth it. The money she was funneling from the company would build their future, and Jack would one day thank her for it. One evening, Jack returned home to find Edaora sitting in silence, staring at her phone. "Is everything okay?" he asked, his concern genuine. "I'm fine," she replied curtly, avoiding eye contact. Jack sighed. "Ada, I feel like we're drifting apart. You've been so distant lately." Edaora forced a smile. "I've just been busy, Jack. That's all." Jack didn't believe her, but he didn't know how to bridge the growing gap between them. He decided to let the matter rest for the night, even as his doubts deepened. The cost of success. Though Edaora's wealth continued to grow, she found little joy in it. Every purchase, every new milestone was accompanied by a gnawing sense of unease. She avoided discussing her finances with Jack, afraid that the truth might come to light. At the same time, Jack struggled with his own feelings of inadequacy. He had always wanted to provide for Edaora, to be the man who would build a future for them. But now, as he watched her flourish while he stagnated, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was losing her. The tensions between them simmered beneath the surface, threatening to boil over. Neither of them realized that their unspoken fears and secrets were leading them toward an inevitable confrontation, one that would change their lives forever. The discovery. The morning began like any other for Jack. He arrived at the office, coffee in hand, ready for another monotonous day of balancing ledgers and preparing reports. As he settled at his desk, he noticed a buzz of activity in the finance department. His manager, Mr. Obina, was pacing back and forth, his expression grim. "Jack, in my office," Mr. Obina called sharply. Confused but compliant, Jack followed. Inside the office, the company's internal auditor and a security officer were already seated. A folder lay open on the desk, its contents partially concealed. "Take a seat," Mr. Obina said, gesturing to the chair across from him. Jack's heart began to race. "Is everything okay, sir?" "Not exactly," Mr. Obina said, his tone cold. "We've identified significant discrepancies linked to the POS machines you delivered a few months ago." Jack's eyes widened. "Discrepancies? Sir, I don't understand." The auditor slid a sheet of paper across the desk. "These are transaction records from one of the machines. They show that funds meant for the company have been redirected to a personal account under the name Edaora IB." Jack's stomach dropped. The name hit him like a punch to the gut. Edaora IB. "That's my fiancé." The room went silent, the weight of the revelation pressing down on everyone. "Explain this," Mr. Obina demanded, his voice stern. "How does your fiancé's account end up linked to a machine you personally delivered? Are you both running a scheme to siphon company funds?" No, sir. Jack exclaimed, panic rising in his voice. I swear, I don't know anything about this. The security officer folded his arms. It's hard to believe you didn't notice. Millions have gone missing, and your fiancé's account has been receiving regular deposits. Either you're complicit, or you've been extremely careless. The confrontation. That evening, Jack returned home in a daze. His mind raced with disbelief, confusion, and anger. He found Edeora in the living room, scrolling through her phone. She looked up and immediately noticed the tension in his face. Jack. What's wrong? She asked, her voice tinged with concern. What's wrong? Jack repeated, his voice trembling with rage. I should be asking you that, Ada. Do you want to explain why your account is linked to a company POS machine? The same machine I delivered months ago. Edeora froze, her heart pounding in her chest. She tried to speak, but no words came. Talk to me. Jack shouted, slamming his hand on the table. They think I stole millions, Ada. Millions. My job, my reputation, everything is on the line. And it's all pointing to you. Tears welled in Edeora's eyes as she realized there was no way out of the mess she had created. Jack. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Sorry. Jack said incredulously. You're sorry. What did you do, Ada? Edeora broke down, sobbing. I swapped one of the machines with mine. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought it would help us. Jack stared at her in disbelief. Help us? You thought stealing from my company would help us? I didn't think of it as stealing. Edeora cried. I thought it was a way to secure our future. We've been struggling for so long, Jack. I just wanted us to have something to hold on to. Jack sank into a chair, his hands covering his face. Ada, do you realize what you've done? You didn't just jeopardize your own future, you've ruined mine. They are going to think I was part of this. A choice to make. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The room was thick with tension, the weight of Edeora's betrayal hanging in the air. Finally, Jack looked up, his eyes filled with hurt and anger. I trusted you, Ada. I believed in you. How could you do this to me? Edeora knelt before him, clutching his hands. Jack, please. I'll fix this. I'll confess everything to your boss. I'll return the money. Just tell them you didn't know. Please, don't let this destroy us. Jack pulled his hands away, standing up abruptly. You want to fix this? Do you even understand what you've done? This isn't just about the money. This is about trust, Ada. And right now, I don't know if I can ever trust you again. Edeora sobbed uncontrollably, realizing the depth of the damage she had caused. But Jack wasn't done. If I don't protect you, you go to jail, he said bitterly. But if I protect you, I'll be the one they hold responsible. Either way, my life is ruined. The weight of the decision. The night passed in silence, with Edeora pleading for forgiveness and Jack grappling with the impossible choice before him. He could hand her over to the authorities and clear his name, or he could protect her and bear the consequences of her actions. By dawn, Jack had made his decision. Building a new future. The sun rose over the bustling street of Enugu, casting its golden rays over a modest new shop tucked between a tailor's workshop and a small eatery. The shop bore a freshly painted sign, ANC Essentials, a nod to both Edeora and Jack. It wasn't as large or impressive as Edeora's previous business, but it was theirs, built from scratch with honesty and determination. Starting from scratch. The aftermath of the scandal had left Edeora and Jack with little more than their will to move forward. Jack's probationary status at work meant they could no longer rely on his income alone, and Edeora had forfeited all the assets she had built during her time with the swapped POS machine. But with the little savings Chike had managed to keep and a small loan from a local cooperative, they decided to open a legitimate business together. The shop focused on affordable household goods and basic groceries, similar to Edeora's original venture but now run with transparency and accountability. Edeora managed the daily operations, while Chike handled the bookkeeping after his work hours. "We're building this the right way," Edeora said one evening as they reviewed the shop's finances together. "No shortcuts. No secrets." Chike nodded, though the memory of Edeora's betrayal still lingered in his mind. "This time, we do it together." Rebuilding trust. Rebuilding their relationship was perhaps the hardest task of all. For months, there were awkward silences, mistrustful glances, and moments of tension. Edeora went out of her way to prove her sincerity, sharing every detail of her work and finances, apologizing repeatedly, and showing Chike that she had truly changed. Chike, too, worked on letting go of his resentment. He knew Edeora's actions had been born out of desperation, not malice, and though it would take time, he wanted to believe in her again. "I'm not perfect either," he admitted one night as they sat under the stars outside their small apartment. "I should have been more open about my own frustrations. Maybe then you wouldn't have felt so alone." Edeora reached for his hand. "We'll figure it out. Together." A modest milestone. Months turned into a year, and A&C Essentials slowly grew. It wasn't an overnight success, but the shop became a trusted part of the community. Customers appreciated their fair prices and friendly service, and word of mouth brought in steady business. One evening, as they closed up the shop, Edeora handed Chike the day's earnings to count. He smiled as he tallied the notes. "Nigerian Naira 50,000, he said, holding up the money. "It's not millions, but it's honest, and it's ours." Edeora grinned. "Remember when we didn't even have enough for dinner? Look at us now." That night, they celebrated their modest milestone with a simple home-cooked meal and a bottle of cheap wine. It wasn't extravagant, but it was filled with laughter, warmth, and hope, a stark contrast to the tension and secrecy that had once plagued their lives. A future built on integrity. As the months rolled on, Edeora and Chike continued to grow their business and their bond. They started saving for a small house, talking about their dreams for the future, and planning how to expand their shop into new ventures. Though the road had been rocky, they had learned the value of integrity and hard work. They understood now that shortcuts often led to dead ends and that true success came from perseverance and honesty. One quiet evening, as they sat outside their shop watching the world go by, Chike turned to Edeora and smiled. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Edeora nodded, her eyes shining. "And we're just getting started." The story of Edeora and Chike wasn't one of overnight success or unimaginable wealth. It was a story of redemption, resilience, and the power of starting over, with honesty as their foundation and love as their guiding light. Redemption and sacrifice. The air in the small police station was heavy with tension. Chike sat on a hard bench, his head bowed, the weight of his predicament pressing down on him like a physical burden. His arrest had come swiftly after the company's internal audit. Despite his protest of innocence, the evidence, Edeora's name and account linked to the stolen funds, was damning. "You're free to make one phone call," the officer said gruffly. Chike shook his head. There was no one he could call. Edeora was the only one who could exonerate him, but implicating her was a line he couldn't bring himself to cross. As angry and betrayed as he felt, the thought of Edeora behind bars was unbearable. Edeora's guilt. At home, Edeora was consumed by guilt. News of Chike's arrest had spread quickly, and she couldn't shake the image of him being led away in handcuffs. His words from the night before echoed in her mind, "This isn't just about the money. This is about trust. Edeora knew she had to act. The thought of Chike suffering for her mistake was more than she could bear. She gathered the bank statements, transaction records, and the POS machine she had swapped. With trembling hands, she headed to the company's office to confront the truth. The confession. Mr. Obinna sat at his desk, his face a mixture of shock and anger as Edeora recounted everything. She explained how she had swapped the machines and redirected the funds, all in a misguided attempt to secure a better future for herself and Chike. I didn't think about the consequences, Edeora admitted, tears streaming down her face. I was desperate, and I thought I was helping us. But I see now that I was wrong. Please, sir, don't punish Chike for my mistake. He didn't know anything about this. Mr. Obinna leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. After a long pause, he said, "You realize this is a serious crime, don't you? The company has every right to press charges against you." "I know," Edeora said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I'll do whatever it takes to make things right. I'll return the money, forfeit everything I've bought, and accept any punishment you see fit." A surprising decision. Moved by Edeora's honesty and her willingness to face the consequences, Mr. Obinna called the company owner, Mr. Is, to inform him of the situation. After a lengthy discussion, they decided to handle the matter privately. Later that day, Chike was released from police custody. He found Edeora waiting outside, her eyes red from crying. "You confessed?" Chike asked, his voice a mixture of disbelief and relief. Edeora nodded. "I couldn't let you take the fall for me. I told them everything." Chike shook his head, torn between anger and gratitude. "Do you realize what you've done to us, Eda? What you've done to me?" "I do," Edeora said quietly. "And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right. Making amends." Edeora returned every naira she had stolen, liquidating her assets to cover the full amount. The shop she had expanded, the plot of land she had purchased, and even her personal savings were all surrendered to the company. In the end, she was left with nothing. Despite the severity of her actions, the company decided not to press charges. Mr. Is was particularly impressed by Chike's unwavering loyalty and Edeora's decision to come forward. As a gesture of goodwill, he allowed Chike to keep his job, albeit under strict probation. "This is your second chance," Mr. Is told Chike. "Don't waste it. Starting over." Back at home, the atmosphere was heavy with silence. Chike and Edeora sat across from each other, the enormity of what had happened hanging between them. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Eda," Chike said finally, his voice filled with pain. "But I can't pretend I don't still love you. We'll take this one day at a time." Edeora nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "Thank you, Chike. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'll work every day to earn it." Though their relationship had been deeply shaken, they were determined to rebuild, slowly, honestly, and together.